Welcome back, everyone, to Making Waves, the show from the Chicago Maritime Museum all about our city's past and present on the waterways. I'm Madeline Crispell, the museum's curator, and with me, as always, is Sari Breslin, the museum's education director.
Thanks, Madeline. Here on Making Waves, we've looked at the waterways of Chicago from all kinds of different perspectives. This July, we're getting ready for the Air and Water Show, and we'll be exploring Chicago's waterways from the air with our very special guest, Kris Habermehl.
Who more appropriate to talk about Chicago's water from the air than the voice of the Air and Water Show himself? Six-time regional Emmy winner Kris Habermehl has been a fixture in the Chicago media for more than 3 decades. From traffic to spot news, Kris has entertained and informed countless people on CBS TV and radio. In addition, 2025 marks Kris's 32nd year at the mic for WBBM News Radio as the color commentator for the Air and Water Show. A broadcaster, pilot, lecturer, historian, and devoted boat nerd, Kris is also a fire lieutenant and former training officer with the Kirkland Fire Department in northern DeKalb County. A lover of history, Kris continues to learn on each flight, seeking out changes in the landscape or cityscape to note the passage of time. Kris is also a proud member of the board of the Chicago Maritime Museum and the Glenview Hangar One Foundation. He can be seen on CBS Chicago, Channel 2, weekdays on the morning show and during the afternoon and evening news. Thank you for being here, Kris.
My pleasure, Madeline. Sari, nice to see you.
Welcome. So we're really interested. What do you see from up there?
Oh, you see a lot from up there. I'll tell you.
We've got a picture to show a little bit of what you see, but take it away, Kris.
Indeed. What you're looking at here is a view from Skywatch, our Channel 2 news helicopter, and we are within safe gliding distance of the outer breakwall there, right? You can see the Chicago Harbor Lighthouse in the foreground. We're due east of the far end of Navy Pier, looking back toward the city of Chicago. I took this with my cell phone camera there, so actually I widened the picture out. You're getting a little, almost a fisheye look at it there. You can see it's a little warpy looking there on the shoreline to try and get a wide-angle shot, get the Jardine filtration plant there. We've got, on the right, we've got the Navy Pier up the middle, the main channel, the Chicago Lock, getting into the main channel of the Chicago River, and then what we like to say from right to left, John, Don, and Willie. We've got the John Hancock Building, the Trump Tower, and then Willis Tower, the former Sears Tower. But all of us in Chicago like to call it Sears Tower anyway. It's always going to be the Sears Tower no matter what. But those are a few of our key reporting points to let everybody know where we're at.
Excellent.
So, we've talked a little bit ourselves about how there are all kinds of interesting things we can see from the air, maybe better than we can see from land, even when it comes to our waterways. Mm-hmm. Could you tell us a little bit about maybe some of the history or the infrastructure that you can better see from the air?
And that's why we put up this picture right now. If you take a look, for those of you playing at home with the version of the game, we have ourselves in the foreground, that delta right there. That's actually right at the tip of what we call Mount Forest Island. Back when the Wisconsin Glacier melted, there were two prominent spits of land that stuck up out of the water. One of these was Mount Forest Island right here. The other one was, believe it or not, Blue Island. They were actually islands. And so what you're seeing is some of the puddles left over from the outwash channel when the Wisconsin Glacier melted and gifted us with Lake Michigan and the other parts of the Great Lakes. We have, counting from the left to the right, that little tiny kind of meandering path down there. That's the truncated part of the Illinois and Michigan Canal, which was hand dug from Chicago down to LaSalle between 1836 and 1848. That has been bisected.
Which, of course, everybody heard about on our June episode of Making Waves with Dr. Wayne Dirkus.
Indeed. Well, as the doctor was talking about Illinois and Michigan Canal, you had all the Irish immigrants that hand dug this all the way down there. And in later years, the Calumet-Sag Channel was dug off of the Little Calumet River, and you can see it shooting in there from the left at the bottom part of the screen. That is actually meeting up with the Sanitary and Ship Canal, which was also mechanically dug. And off to the right, oh, by the way, that's the Des Plaines River. This is the actual Des Plaines River basin.
So our riverways are canals. Some of that is easier to see, maybe, from a map, from the bird's eye view.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What about when you're up in your helicopter? What can you see on the floor of the lake? How clear is it? Are there things you can see?
Thanks to the zebra mussels, the much maligned zebra mussels, and for obvious reasons there, because it's attacking a lot of the aircraft that are on and other things that are on shipwrecks that are on the floor of the lake here. They've actually filtered out some of the water, made it pretty clear. What we're looking at here, this is the Morgan Shoal, right about 4,900 south along DuSable Lakeshore Drive off the shoreline of Hyde Park. And an infamous...
This is another photo that you've taken yourself from the helicopter, right, Chris? That we can see right now.
And I know sailing, we were always careful to avoid hitting the shoal.
That is anywhere from 3 to 10 feet below the surface there. You can actually see there's a lot of sea life, organic matter that's grown up over the top of this kind of rocky shoal. And right in the middle, if you take a good close look, that is the boiler from a steamer that wrecked on this shoal on July 15th, 1914. So 111 years ago this month, that steamer came to rest there, the Silver Spray.
So
very
we're
elegant
looking
name.
from the window of a helicopter at the boiler from a ship that sank 111 years ago.
Yes, and buried down in there too, Madeline, we also have the propeller and the propeller drive shaft. You can't see it from the surface, but that boiler, the way it wound up there, it's above water at low tide. You can see it quite often. There are people that have swum out there and waded out there. I've even seen pictures of people sunning themselves on there. And for the uninitiated, sometimes when the waves break over it, they think it's a boat in trouble. It's been reported to 911 as a swimmer in trouble. And so people that don't know, they will eventually know that it's not going anywhere.
Goes to show it's important to know our local shorelines and lake bottom, doesn't it?
And people that have gone out there, they've actually found numerous boat propellers from recreational boats that have gotten too close to the shoal and taken a propeller blade or two off.
Now, for those of us who do not have access to the CBS News helicopter, one of the only bird's eye views that we get is, say, from the Ferris wheel at Navy Pier. This is my segue to this next image that you have for us of Navy Pier. Tell us a little bit what we're seeing here in this photo.
And isn't this neat? In the setting sun, you can actually see here with the sun on the west side of the city. This was taken in the afternoon just a couple of weeks ago. On the right side there, that kind of herringbone structure, those are the brand new slips that just opened this past month there for recreational boaters. There's also a restaurant and a bar in there, so that helps out a lot with people in the playpen. You want to go in there and use the facilities or what have you, or tie up for a little while. Between the Jardine plant on the far right, that slip that's right in there now can be used for recreational boaters to go ahead and tie up by the hour or the day if you need to. And so that's a very exciting new dynamic and brings people to the other side of Navy Pier. Navy Pier has, of course, been there since World War I. And if you look right up in the upper left corner there, just inside the wall that separates the main channel of the Chicago River, there's an excursion boat right there. That west wall is where the USS Wolverine and the USS Sable docked during World War II, are freshwater flat tops that trained the pilots out of Navy Glenview.
Now, of course, everybody who's been to the Chicago Maritime Museum knows all about the USS Sable and Wolverine because we have a fabulous model of the USS Wolverine. But Kris, for the very, very few people watching who haven't yet made their trip to the Maritime Museum, could you tell us a little bit about the aircraft carriers?
Oh, the aircraft carriers were actually produced during World War II using the C&B and the Greater Buffalo. And basically, it was the brainchild of Admiral Richard Whitehead, who thought that, hey, what's the best way to teach air carrier qualifications? You don't want to do it off the shoreline. There's U-boats out there. You don't want to do it off the other shoreline. You don't know if the Japanese could make it all the way to the California coastline. So how about an inland sea? And we've got a perfect one right here. So they lopped the top off the excursion steamers, put the wooden decks on there, and they actually had two flat tops that they could actually take out in the lake every single day. Pilots that were going to be making their carrier qualifications, they had to make 8 traps, 8 landings and takeoffs, and then they would be qualified and would be sent out to the fleet. So in the safety of the mid-continent, of the middle of the United States, we had our own freshwater flat tops that you could practice your carrier approaches and landings. Now, they didn't have hangar decks or anything. They didn't have the infrastructure on board, and if something happened, those aircraft would go over the side, and there were landing incidents as well.
And there's quite a few.
There's quite a few
at the bottom of the lake as well.
And quite a few that have been recovered.
Yes.
But over time, the mussels, now the guaga mussels, are I hate to say it, the excrement, the things that happen. They're ejecta, the things, their natural body processes are rotting the aircraft, and they're dissolving at the bottom of the lake. Same thing for shipwrecks, too.
So, this is a perfect story to illustrate air and water and how these elements come together in Chicago, which makes me, of course, think of the Air and Water Show.
Indeed.
Which you have been a voice of for more than 30 years. Could you tell us a little bit about what that's been like?
I have been. Before, Madeline, I want to catch something real quick. This picture that's up here, that's a George Morley. It is right off of the end of Greenwood Avenue in Evanston, and she sank in 1897, and that was a wooden steamer, that package steamer, and you can still see that hull outline today. It's only in about 10, 15 feet of water. A lot of divers go out there. Now, the Air and Water Show. We'll talk about that because obviously we've got our pictures here, and the Air and Water Show has to do with performing both civilian and military acts right off of North Avenue Beach. And this year it's going to be August 16th and 17th. I've been doing this so long. And all the years kind of run together. But anyway, it's going to feature the U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds. And we have the Golden Knights, and we have plenty of civilian action down there, and it's always a great time. So come on down, or if you can't make it down there, what we like to do on WBBM News Radio is I'll do the color commentary for those at home who can't make it down there, and especially our veterans. So we want to thank our veterans for everything.
And we also have the Chicago Fire Department.
Air Sea Rescue.
Air Sea Rescue.
And I narrate the Air Sea Rescue demo, and I also narrate for the police department, too.
Yeah.
For the helicopter demo. And speaking of rescue, a lot of times, when we're out over the lake, we find breaking news.
Right. You're not just the voice of the Air and Water Show, but also a lot more serious things that happen over the lake. Could you tell us a little bit about some of what you do as that part of your job?
And one thing, too, I want to make absolutely clear, the technical voice of the Air and Water Show is Herb Hunter, my good friend. This will be his, I believe, 38th year doing it.
Wow.
I am the radio voice of the Air and Water Show. So while Herb is on the announcing on the public address system down at North Avenue Beach, I'll be cluing in everybody on WBBM News Radio. So we will see you out at the beach. Now, what we have here, unfortunately, this was a boat explosion that happened almost a year ago, back in late July of last year, off of the coast of the shoreline of Waukegan. 2 people were picked up off of this boat there. They were rescued. There were some injuries in this, but once again, it just goes to show that when a vessel catches fire, the only place they're going to go is over the side. So have your personal flotation device, be able to know where you're at to give out your location so that Air Sea Rescue can come out and get you.
Now, we had an excellent episode back in May that
Yes.
was on this. Sari, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, talking about water safety, and then we need more people to revisit that video because, man, it's been crazy out
Another
on the lake.
dangerous summer on Lake
been,
Michigan.
It's been
A lot of people are out there.
A lot of people are out there.
And there are a lot of first-timers out there, a lot of people that don't understand the kind of the
rules of the road,
ebbs and flow of even the weather on Lake Michigan.
Yeah.
And the tides on Lake Michigan, the things that happen out there, the currents that you have to deal with once you get in the water. And remember, we're at 98.6. Our little pink bodies are about 98.6. So when we get in the water and it's in the 70s, okay, it may feel like bath water, but you could still suffer hypothermia after being exposed to that water for X amount of time.
Now, something that had never occurred to me in all my years of going to Lake Michigan beaches, it's really hard to tell where you are once you're in the water. And one of the number one things, as we learned back in May, that it's important to do is be
Know
able
your
to
location.
give your location. Right. Could you talk a little bit about what that's like up in the air, about having to give your location somewhere on the shoreline from, up where the birds are?
Sure, we have to have reporting points. And whether it is off of Navy Pier, which is a very common one, or what we used to call the hotels, when Meigs Field was in operation, the cluster of large buildings down in Hyde Park. They're not all hotels, but at one time or another, we just called them the hotels.
Yeah.
Also, the Baha'i Temple.
Yeah.
We use the Baha'i Temple as a reporting point. And not only us, it's not just us going, hey, wow, look, there's the Baha'i Temple. We're going to use that because it doesn't look like anything else and everybody knows where it's at.
We have a great photo that you took, Chris, of the Baha'i Temple.
I took it and I took the color right out of it. I made this into a World War II era look at the Baha'i Temple. And the reason I did that, we were just talking about the Wolverine and the Sable. When pilots would take off on their training missions from Navy Glenview, that was known as Point Oboe. And that would be a reporting point for aircraft transiting off the shoreline and coming back in from their training sorties out in the lake. So let's say I am the leader of Charlie Flight, Charlie Flight to SS Wolverine or USS Sable. I'm at Point Oboe and about to go feet wet. Feet dry, obviously, is on the land. Feet wet is you're out over the lake. Okay, roger that. We copy you, Charlie Flight. This is the USS Sable. I am at 095 degrees, 15 miles off of Point Oboe. Come find us. and that's part of the thing. You've got to find that little postage stamp that's out there floating. It looks really huge. Yeah. When you look up at it and go, wow, how could you ever lose something like this? Oh, it's really easy when it's way out there and it's bobbing up and down. And not every day do you have beautiful weather. They had water spouts, they had icing, they had fog, they had all sorts of different things. And that's important to note for anybody who's out there, is that your weather is very tenuous sometimes. The lake surface is precocious. The air above the lake surface, you could have a marine layer all of a sudden roll in. All it takes is a change in temperature and dew point. We're out there on a perfectly nice day. All of a sudden, we better get back to base. And that's happened to us on the air before, where we, all of a sudden, things that weren't forecast.
Small craft advisory.
Yes. If there's a small craft advisory, take it seriously. Don't go out there.
Don't go out.
You're not Captain Ahab going after some big white whale out there. We're going to be, come what may, we're going to go out there and we're going to fight the elements and we're going to do this. Yeah, that's great. Where are they buried? Where do we send the flowers to? It's nice.
Chris, I'm a historian. I keep up less well with current events. I always seem to find that the Air and Water Show surprises me every year when I hear what sound to me like the sounds of active war while I'm on the train during my commute in the morning.
Yeah, big engines going up and down the shoreline.
Where does the Air and Water Show come from? What are the roots of this?
Oh, that was back in the late 1950s, and a fellow by the name of Al Benedict had the first Air and Water Show right off of what would be Oak Street Beach, and it consisted of the U.S. Coast Guard, and they did an air-sea rescue demonstration, and we also had the Golden Knights. They jumped there. They had a demonstration, and they had some water skiing and things like that. Would you believe that the original the original budget for the Air and Water Show, $88.
What?
$88, and that's what you got everything for that.
Wow.
And as time went along, as a function of the park district, you had the silver whales out there, the park district lifeguards and their big rowboats and what have you, and then
Silver
powered
whales.
boats after
I've
that.
never
The
heard
silver
that before.
the silver whales, yeah, because they were out there and they're
Yeah.
big metal metal clad boats, and so you had the lifeguard life saving demonstrations, things like that. You had swimming exhibitions, and as time has gone along, it's become more air and a little bit less water. But the water part of the show is that all those boats that are out there that form what we call a picket line. In other words, there's an area where you're not supposed to be. There's a cordoned off area, and the Power Squadron and Coast Guard and Air Sea Rescue and the Police Marine Unit, they all patrol that line. And the pilots love to fly in Chicago because that picket line of boats with all the recreational boats out there, that forms a beautiful representation from the air of the air show box, exactly where you're supposed to perform. So you have this big rectangular outline because wherever you can go, that's where those boats are going to be. So
Of
it's
course.
great time.
I've never seen it actually from the beach.
Neither have I. I'm
Really?
going to say this
We
has
gotta
got
have
to be
you-
our
gotta
first
have you out
summer
there,
sail.
yeah.
Well, I mean, I've watched it on sailboats,
Oh, yeah.
and to watch the
With the skyline in the background.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the sky. Everybody else is looking at
Yeah.
there. And you have the jet demonstration teams that make real low passes out there sometimes. My favorite is the sneak pass from both the Thunderbirds and the Blue Angels also do that, where you're looking off at one direction.
Yeah, right.
And I'm in on it. I will tell you, I'm in on it because
And
I'm
you
telling
hear
everybody,
'em.
and you look off in the majestic view, boom! Somebody comes by, splits your hair, boom! Another one comes by over the top of you. So that's what we like to do. WBBM was known as the showmanship station. And we've already celebrated now this year the 100th anniversary of WBBM News Radio. It actually was born from H. Leslie Atlas and his brother Ralph. They had a Spark station down in Lincoln, Illinois, and they moved up here in the mid-1920s, and the house that they lived in, or that their parents lived in, and that they actually had one of their first transmitters in, 7421 North on Sheridan Road. It's still there, and you can actually rent the house.
Seems like there should be a plaque.
So yeah, there's a dedication plaque out in front.
There you go.
There is, and you can
find
actually
it.
rent
You
it
go find
for events there. So the 7400 block of North Sheridan Road, it's on the east side of the street. You can't miss it. Beautiful old house right there, and a real piece of Chicago broadcast history. And that's one of the things that's so great about Chicago. Whenever I fly over the lakefront, just like that last photograph that we looked at with the Baha'i Temple and how it is in black and white, that's how I look. So I look down and I'm seeing shipwreck. I go over the main channel of the Chicago River. I see the Eastland. I see the Rouse Simmons going in and out of the main channel there. I see the history in my mind's eye of the Wolverine and the Sable out there. I see the Morley before she burned and sank off of Greenwood Avenue. I see the Silver Spray before she ran aground on the Morgan Shoal. There's so much history that's out there. Explore it. It's right here. And Chicago, the great thing about Chicago, they don't turn their back on the lake.
Oh, there you
it's
go.
awesome.
And what would you tell a young person that's watching now that says, "I wish I could do what Kris Habermehl does"? How did you start? What did you?
Actually, I started.
Was it history first?
No. Well, history was always my favorite subject. Social studies. I excelled in that. I loved it. I always loved history. I always believed that, I was born in a different time. I'd been here before. This is kind of my second chance to kind of prove myself.
Time machine.
It was a time machine.
Time travel.
And the mere fact is that history is right here. It's all around you. And you know what? You're going to look at this tape here in another 50 years. We're history. But we're making it now. And a lot of people that you ask in the broadcast industry that grew up in radio and television, wow, I wish I was there during the big bands. And when they're like, if we knew it was history, would have paid more attention. Guess what? You are making your own history today in the here and now. So do
Great
it.
answer.
Do it.
Well, so you can see Kris, you can hear Kris. Kris, tell the people where they can see and hear you.
You can see me in the mornings on CBS Monday through Friday from about 5, anywhere to about 10 a.m. And then again, I'll be back for breaking news in the afternoon from 3 to 6 on CBS Chicago, Channel 2.
And of course, the wonderful Chicago Maritime Museum. Maybe you can't get up in a helicopter yourself and go see the Illinois and Michigan Canal and the Sanitary and Ship Canal. You can't go see the George Morley or the Silver Spray from the sky. Where can you learn about all of these things from the land? At the wonderful Chicago Maritime Museum.
Yeah.
Now, as all of our viewers know, the Chicago Maritime Museum in Bridgeport at Racine and 35th Street is open Tuesday through Sunday, 10 o'clock to 4. We have all kinds of resources on our website, chicagomaritimemuseum.org. And of course, you can always get a free ticket with your library card if you are a part of the Chicago library system. But single membership starts at $35 a year. How very reasonable for that as well.
Or get your teachers or your camp counselors to bring you in for a field trip.
That's
which
right.
is
Be a lot of
free.
fun. Love field trips.
All you campers watching Making Waves right now, you go tomorrow to camp and tell your camp counselor, bring me to the Chicago Maritime Museum. And with that, we'll say thank you, Kris. This was a fabulous episode. And everybody, go watch the Air and Water Show.
You're welcome.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure being here. Thanks, everybody.